How's it going, guys? Welcome back to the What's Up Eddie channel, Divine Therapy Sessions. And of course, I'm the one and only Eddie. So glad to have you guys back. And these are my Divine Therapy Sessions. And in today's Eddie's Love Bug Advice, Relationship Advice, I'm going to talk about a subject in regards to if you find yourself in a leadership role or as well as in a relationship of any sort. And you find this most specifically for the people out there when you're actually in a relationship with a significant other. Now, all right, so the way that this shows up is usually, and this is what I teach others about, I teach them in regards to doing trauma work, the inner work, right? Or if you're more spiritual, like you're working into the shadow work, the darker sides of yourself. And the reason why this is so valuable for a person out there is because it shows up in every part of our lives. And whether you're able to recognize it in just one portion of it or all of it, it helps because you realize that you know, the person that you're with every day is going to show you how you treat others. Sometimes we develop excuses, deception, and manipulation, and this is the struggle that we deal with because we don't have a really good picture on ourselves. That's why I always say it's easier to look at another person and blame them, and it's really hard to look at ourselves and do that inner reflection, right? Doing the work in the mirror is what I like to say. Okay, so when you get triggered, and you'll find that when you get triggered by people, you like to, or I like to blame them instead of just taking taking a good valued look at myself and say, you know what, Eddie, I'm the one that's at fault here. And a lot of times I find myself, I'm not perfect. I'll say, you know what, Eddie, I'll wait, I'll say something and make it someone else's fault and then realize, you know what, nah, that's a no-go. I got to go back and make amends to that person. Go make amends and then take accountability for it, right? Most people get to the point, and I was like this in the past when it caused me trouble because people don't want to be around that, right? And if you do that enough times, you start being manipulative and deceptive to a whole bunch of people. And you guys, people don't want to be around that stuff. But I say this because it gives us a good look as to what we want in our lives, right? You don't want to, and you wonder why we don't have energy or we don't do the work that we need to do, right? Or we're not going after the dreams that we have to go after because we're living in low vibrations. I'm not saying this to trigger you, but if you're getting triggered, and like, check this out. A lot of times when we're getting triggered by someone we don't even know, ask yourself why. I'm not getting paid, or I'm not in your life, and I know you enough for you to even be triggered by someone like me. So if it is triggering you, that entails you to use your own two eyes and look at yourself. Figure out what is and why are you saying those things to yourself, right? Or why do you feel the need to blame someone else is what I'm saying. Now, why is this important? This is extremely important because it bleeds into all portions of life. So sometimes the way Creator works, or the way God, I feel like, works, is He tells us in a million different ways, hey, every time you have pain or it reminds you of the things that happened to you in the past, of course, we don't recognize it like I'm saying it right now, right? This is a better, deep inner reflection. But He's telling us in so many ways, hey, every time that this happens in your relationship, you're resorting back to childhood programming or pain of a previous relationship, and you're using it in this relationship now. And it's not only affecting you here, honey, or sweetheart, or big guy, it's affecting your business life. It's affecting your relationship with your friendships, in your relationships. And a lot of times it goes unrecognized, right? But it'll get to the point where we either get it done to us, and that's the wheel of karma, right? And that's how we know the clearer picture on ourselves. Like, wait a minute, wow, this doesn't feel good. Wow, I did this to other people, right? That's why this world works so perfectly. It's in tandem. Everything has its ebb and flow, right? Everything has its cycles, its beginning and ends, and then it's rebirth again, right? But what I'm saying is just knowing that information right there, as what I'm trying to do is get you in a better place where you can look at that stuff and say, you know what? I don't care how bad it hurts. I'm continuing to hurt myself because of these old problems, right? This old traumatic behavior. Now, I'll tell you this, you guys, and I didn't know this before. Did you know every time you revisit an old memory that was traumatic or painful, your chemicals in your brain and your body know no difference? It is as if you went through that pain and trauma for the first time again. So you experience that stress, that anxiety, that depression, which all is low vibratory, right? It's all low vibrations. That's scary, right? Because imagine if you're like that every day. So for me, I've had to overcome the problems of my mind, and I still overcome them every day. I struggle with different things like PTSD, anxiety, stress, depression. And so those things rear its ugly head in the mind frame, right? And I find that I come to a place where, you know, it plagues my thought processes. A lot of the times I have to combat it. And I have to get, you know, and the ways to combat that is inner self-talk, like good self-talk, self-love, right? What you're saying in your head and out of your mouth. You have to be very super intention. You have to have like the exact intentions. You have to really be focused on it. It takes work at first, but you can get to a better place. And I just want to shine light on this. You know, it's difficult because, okay, here's a couple examples. So I have this done to me. I'll give you an example of that so I can give you a clearer picture, as well as it being, I'm doing it to others, right? All right, so one of the times when it was done to me, a couple times actually, you know, I've been in groups and stuff like that, settings where, or even around friends, you know, where, okay, so I've struggled with addiction, right? Alcoholism or, you know, abuse, childhood abuse, also, you know, depression, PTSD, stuff like that, right? And when you see someone go through it and they've actually healed themselves, and you hear someone talking about this, which I talk about a lot because it's what I do for a living now, right? I'm a coach, I help people, and I put the information, I disperse it on my YouTube channel as well as all of my platforms. So sometimes I have people messaging me, and then this is what I mean, it shows up in different ways, right? And now 2 examples of this is someone had a husband that was alcoholic, right? I reminded him of that person. Also, another thing is I had, you know, on top of that, you have many problems, right? When particular to what your problem is, right? So use your own discernment. Does it fit for you? What does it fit in your life? Those are the questions you should be asking yourself right now. For me, I wasn't a part of my kid's life, right? Unfortunately, that's what addiction leads for people like myself, right? Homelessness, it led to really low vibing, and I wasn't a part, and then my ex would not allow me to be a part of my kid's life, which is normal, right? Of course. But when I talk about it with regularity, because I have to, right? This stuff keeps me alive. This is something that's been taught to me long ago. That's a spiritual principle. If I keep those darkness inside, it's going to fuel, it's going to get too big, and it's going to blow up. But it's like poison in the body. So what I tell you guys is this: when I'm talking about it, and then they get activated by it, whether like they have trauma from their childhood, their dad wasn't there for them, or their dad hurt them, or their dad was an alcoholic, I'm reminding them of that. But our relationship has nothing to do with those wounds, right? So you're getting mad, and then how people shows up for people, it'll show your personality a little deeper. Those people will end up, they do those little side remarks, right? Or like, it's a manipulation tactic or deception. I need to make that person feel bad because he reminds me of my dad, and my dad hurt me and I didn't get a chance to fix that. So I want to hurt this guy now. And it has nothing to do with the person you're talking to. That's what's dangerous about this. If you go around living your life like this, you're never going to get to a place where you want to be. You're always going to hurt right here, you guys, in the heart space. I did this multiple times. I had problems with my father. I had problems with my mother. I had problems with my brothers. I had problems with my friends. Now, check this out. Did they do things that hurt me? Obviously, we all go through life. You're going to get hurt. It's part of it, right? But at what point does it stop? Now, now you find a repetition, if you start finding a problem that becomes a problem and it shows up in multiple areas of your life, you start to realize one thing. Wait, maybe it's not the other people, it's me. I'm the common denominator. And that was the most difficult thing to come apart with. It had to be torn away. I had to tear off the mask, look at myself and say, you know what, Eddie? You're using the abuse, the trouble that happened to you in the past, and you're bringing it into every relationship. And when you do that, it becomes a hindrance to me and that person didn't deserve it. And we go into life with these same cycles, and which shows up in rears its ugly face in every single way, right? Now, unfortunately, these are the cycles that need to happen. But I tell you this, you can come out of these situations. Now, as bad as my life got, I'm 17 months sober now, right? And I had to look and do some inner reflection, shadow work, that real hard trauma work. And I'm telling you this, you guys, it was freedom. Absolute bliss. Now, do I still have my issues? Yes. Do I still have this stuff come up? Yes. But to recognize it is going to help you. You're going to start to realize and I found myself doing this too, you guys, you're going to find yourself doing the same thing, is it'll show up and your stubbornness, your pride, and your ego will get in the way. And then you start to combat certain things at certain times, right? And it's doing the math and solving the process each process of the way, right? All right, this step got fixed. I figured out that I have the trauma, right? Now, what do I do with that trauma? Step 2, I gotta own it. Where do I fall into this, and where do I fall in others? Third step, then it goes to, all right, I've done the trauma work. How do I switch the behaviors, right? And it goes and it goes and it goes to each step, and then it gets to a place where you're no longer inviting it into your relationships because you're not doing it anymore. And if it does come into your relationships, you start to get to that step of putting boundaries out there. You have to do that as well, because you guys, check this out. You're going to figure out, which is going to be your hardest step, is that the people around you, and sometimes that's family, sometimes it's friends, sometimes it's close ones, you're going to have to get out of their lives, or you're going to have to set real stringent boundaries, because people will cross them, especially if you get into a place where you have empathy and compassion. There's people out there that take advantage, and that's just in them. It's in human nature to do that until something happens to you, right? So healthy boundaries is a big thing as well. Now, I bring this up not to trigger you, but if you are getting triggered, that's a good thing, you guys. I always say it's a good thing. You guys, I think that is all I have. I come from a place of love. I just want people to recognize that when we do stuff like this and we're manipulative and deceptive, these things hinder us. And you may get away with it behind closed doors, but eventually it's going to show its face, because if poison grows, what happens to it? It starts becoming cancerous, right? And when it's in the body like that, it'll show up in every way. These are spiritual principles. It'll show up in your body. You'll start to get sick. It'll show up in your looks, which is your body, right? It'll show up in your mental capacities. You're going to get to a place of anxiety, depression, and stress where you can't handle anymore. And then it'll show up in your spiritual body, and that's when it gets dangerous, because when your spiritual body's weak, you invite the enemy. You invite people into your life that are no good. All right, guys? Love and light, you guys. I love you so much. Thank you for being a part of this video. Watch my other videos. I got a lot of content out. And I talk a lot about, the spiritual new world. I love this awakening, man. And I think, and if you're out there, I've been saying this in my videos too, you guys. If you're a leader, come to the forefront, man. We need you. We need the people out there fighting, not fighting each other, but fighting for the good causes, right? Fighting to be humanitarians, lovers, healers, spread enlightenment, man, because this stuff is growing, and this isn't it. What if lifetimes do exist, past lives, and in the next life, you are your kid's kid? Now, whatever you do today to your family or to your immediate family may affect you in the next lifetime. If you think like that, you won't do half the things that you're doing, right? Because if you're in two generations, you're that kid that you kept carrying on those curses, those generational curses, whatever they may be, however they show up in your family. You may be that person who's highly affected by it, but it's because of karma, right? So expand your mind, you guys, because it affects every part of you. And this system here is a test. It works so perfectly. God has the plan to work it so perfectly in your life. Answer the call. You're the leaders out there, right? Get your medicine out there. If you're fearful, just try to do it. You know, when I first started this YouTube channel, or started sharing on my Facebook and my Instagram, it was difficult, you guys. I was scared, but I had to go through the growth and the trauma work to get there. And I'll tell you, you'll get to a place where you just come into your own and you're able to get that medicine out there. I implore you. The gifts are substantial. The freedom in itself and peace of heart, peace of mind, that's stuff you can't buy, and you can only obtain it by recognition of your true self, your true divine self, you guys. I love you guys so much. Give me a thumbs up. Make sure to subscribe. Get the ring the if you need notifications or you want them, go ahead and hit that notification bell. I love you guys so much. All right, guys, catch you in the next one.